Hello everyone, Jim from Ohio here, and we recently purchased a new home and it sat on 2 acres of land, but prior to us buying the property, the person we bought the home from, he originally owned 5 acres of land, but he subdivided the property and created the 2 acre lot that the home sits on, and the 3 acres that was behind the property he split off and decided to sell it separately. Now, when he split it off, he created what's referred to as a flag lot. So the 3 acres that sits behind the property, the only access it has to the road is this 30-foot wide section of land that runs parallel to my property to get back to the back property. Now, when he did that, he kind of created a situation for himself in that if he's to put a driveway on this property, he has to build it within this 30-foot section of land right here. The problem he created, though, is right in the middle of this property is a telephone pole. And around that telephone pole, there's a 15-foot easement, so 7.5 feet in all directions around the pole. He's not able to do anything that would impede access to that telephone pole for the power company or cable company. So since he has that land for sale, I'm concerned that if somebody buys the land, in trying to develop it, they may encroach onto my property. So we are trying to purchase this property, but so far he's been somewhat unreasonable with the price of it, and we haven't been able to come to an agreement yet. So what I wanted to do, just to get ahead of things and ensure that there are no encroachments, is I wanted to find the property markers so that I know exactly where my property ends and his property begins. So the first thing that I did was go out to the county auditor's website, and I downloaded the legal property description, which includes the document you see on the screen now. And if you can see down here, it shows that any dark colored circle are iron pins that are located on the property. So he has this pin, this pin, this pin, and over here, this pin were his original property lines. But then it shows the bubble that has no coloring on it are new pins that were placed when he subdivided the property. So what I need to do is locate those pins. And I know about where this one is because I have found this pin. I was able to walk the property and I found this one visually, so I know that this pin must be about 30 feet away from where this pin is. And I was able to locate this pin visually, but I've not yet found this one, and this one. So I wanted to download this legal description so that I have an idea of where to look for the other pins, and I'm going to use a metal detector to try to do that. So let's go outside and see what we can find. So the first thing that I did was, according to the county surveyor's map, I went to the approximate area where the pin should be. And then I've got a pretty good metal detector, so I figured that that would be the easiest way to locate the pin. So if you do have a metal detector, please note that a lot of metal detectors will discriminate against iron. So what I did when I turned on my metal detector, I made sure that I was doing no discrimination. I wanted to be able to locate any kind of metal to include iron because that's what the pin is normally made out of. The other thing that I did was I set it, this metal detector has a mode that says iron audio. So what will happen is if it detects iron, it will give me an audio or an audio tone. So now it's just a matter of trying to locate any type of a metal target. am getting a good target right there. And the next thing I want to do is try to pinpoint where that signal is the strongest. And then go look and see what we found. And actually, I can see the top of the pin is right here, actually on the surface. I don't even have to dig to locate this one. So now that I found this, the best thing to do would be to mark it with some sort of a stake. Now that I've got a stake in the ground, what I'm going to do is actually measure the distance to the pin from my road frontage. And this will make it easier to locate in the future if I need to. And it looks like I'm about 37 feet from the edge of the road. And so I'm going to document that measurement and keep that document in a good space where I can find it in case I need to reference that information later on. Depending on your particular situation, you may or may not need to take this next step that I did. The reason I took this step is because the property owner, or the previous property owner for our home, before he sold our house, he divided a 5-acre plot into the 2-acre plot that we bought, and then the 3-acre plot that is directly behind us, the hillside. What he did was he left a 30-foot right-of-way of road frontage. The downside to what he did, I don't think he put a lot of thought in it, but we do have a telephone pole right in the middle of it, which would make it very difficult for him to put any kind of a driveway and a culvert to go across the ditch back there. But just because this property on the right side of the camera is for sale, I don't want any disputes down the road. So what I wanted to do was find the exact property line all the way from this corner of the property all the way back up to the far corner of the property up on the hillside. So what I did was I went and bought a 400-yard length of fishing line. And now that I've got a stake in the ground here and I've got a stake in the ground up there, I was able to run this string of fishing line that actually goes all the way up the hillside. Now fortunately, I only had one tree along the way that I would have to navigate around, and that may not be your particular situation. So I got lucky on this side, and I found that that tree is probably about 6 to 8 inches on my side of the property. When I go over to do that side of the property over there and run my string line, I'm going to have more of a challenge because I've got a lot of trees that run right along the property line. But I'm not so concerned about that because that land over there is not for sale. So now what I'm going to do is walk along the string line, and I am going to put a couple more stakes right on the property line, right in line with where the fishing line is. Now that I have several stakes in a good straight line going up to the front corner of my property, what I did was I came back to the original stake that I had the fishing line tied off to, and I'm going to repeat the process for the back corner. So now just to work my way across the back of my property and move to the other stake. Now, another way that you could do this that probably would be much more accurate than this, I mean, after all, the wind does blow the fishing line and it can be stretched a little bit and cause the line to not be completely true and accurate. Another way you could do this would be with a laser.
and that would probably be the most accurate way that you could possibly do this. The downside to using a laser is you would pretty much have to do it at night in order to see the red dot on the laser. Now there are some construction grade lasers that work during the daytime, and you could use one of those if you have access to one of them. But those are very, very expensive lasers. You might be able to find a place to rent one of them, but any laser that I found that reaches a distance over 100 feet that does any kind of measuring function would only go up to, like I said, about 100 feet is the most that I could find. But if you do have access to a construction laser, by all means, that would definitely be the better way to go. This is definitely a cheap way, and it's probably more accurate than just trying to eyeball things. Now, speaking of eyeballing things, we're now at the back left corner stake of my property, and you can see right here in the ground we have the red cap that our county auditor when they came, or the surveyor, when they came out and hammered the stake in the ground, they typically put a plastic cap on top of it like this. And so that's where I hammered my stake in the ground. Now, the point I wanted to make is when we originally moved into this property, we were told by the previous owner that the property line was probably another 20-25 feet over this way. And so I've been mowing this area of the property ever since we moved in. And not only that, but I planted a row of hickory trees on my neighbor's property. Now, fortunately, the neighbor that lives in this house over here is a very nice lady, and I'm sure she won't have a problem, and I'm going to let her know that I'm going to go ahead and post my stakes here, and there's no sense in digging up trees that are already in the ground and starting to grow. So I'm going to ask her if it's okay to just leave those where they are, and they'll be her trees. I do have a watermelon patch further up here that I'm encroaching on her property and growing some of my produce, but I'll give her a couple watermelons to, so that she can let me keep that there for the remainder of the year. But when I run the string line down here, you can see this is that tree line, and that's where I'm definitely going to have problems trying to keep a straight line. So I'm going to have to just do the best that I can there. But, well, I hope you learned something here today. And I hope you are able to take care of this as easily on your property as I am. Obviously, if you have some wooded property, or if you have a much greater distance to go, I only have 2 acres to measure out. You're probably better off to just find those pins and eyeball your line. However, if you are going to go to the trouble of putting in any kind of a fence or anything, you definitely want to be neighborly and make sure that you're building a fence on the property so that you don't have a situation like this occur that could be very costly. These trees came from our county soil and water conservation district when they did their annual tree sale, so they were very, very inexpensive. So I don't mind leaving those where they were, or where they are. But if I were putting in a $10,000 fence and found out I had to move it, I'd be pretty disappointed and upset about that. So hope you've learned something from this video, and hope you go about enjoying the rest of your day. This is Jim. Please share this video, and if you liked it, please give me a thumbs up. Thanks, and take care. Bye-bye.